At 3 in the morning, when the house is quiet and the night is still, the phone ringing will cut through a peaceful slumber like a hot knife through butter. And those that are brave or foolish enough to answer the call will find that Gondor is calling for aid. Even through the groggy fog of sleepiness, every man's heart will stir at the call to adventure, and they'll ask, is this the hero that can save us? And the only proper answer is a stalwart and resolve. No, this is Patrick. Novelty is a fickle mistress, always calling for things that are new and exciting just to turn around and faint with boredom and start the process anew. And despite the fact that I'm just susceptible to the siren song of novelty as anyone and can fall prey to the shiny and new, today is not that day. This day, we say out with the new and in with the old and look back to the halcyon days of 2003 into the back of the Lord of the Rings Battle Game magazine, issue number 9, and follow along with that issue's modeling workshop to make one of Gondors Beacons. Let's get into it. First things first, find an old pizza box or other piece of cardboard garbage, cut off the unusable flaps, and cut out 8 3-inch by 3-inch squares and a few long 2-inch strips, all while wondering whether or not cardboard garbage would be a good name for a rock band. Grab your guitar and book a manager before gluing the 4 cardboard squares onto 4 other cardboard squares, rotating the squares so that the corrugates are facing the opposite orientation. Find a way to say squares one more time before gluing the squares into a cube and set aside before cutting the strips into 2 3-inch sections, 2 2.5-inch sections, 2 2s, 2 2.5s, and 2 1-inch segments. Glue the matching segments one on top of another in order of descending length to make a set of steps before realizing that it's far too short and you'll have to make another set of strips using the greasy side of the pizza box. Bring back the cube and cut out a top before covering the seams with either masking tape or blue painter's tape before doing the exact same with the steps, taping off all but the side that'll be glued to the cube. Do the same with the other set of steps and glue them to the cube to create an L-shaped staircase. Attach another strip to the bottom of the second level staircase to create the corner platform and cut out 3 more 3-inch strips to create a small rail on the outside of the beacon because it looks aesthetically pleasing and adheres to medieval OSHA standards. Cover and tape any more gaps before going through the garbage to find a box from Target's disappointing snack section and slice out 6 half-inch strips and use a scissors to cut those into 1-inch by half-inch rectangles before gluing them to the side of the beacon in random spots to look like brickwork poking through. Then grab a carton of plaster of Paris and mix up a serving or two per the carton's instructions, waiting for it to be renamed Plaster of America. Spackle or gap filler can also work if that's what you prefer. Find the most pretentious paintbrush you own and use it to paint the plaster onto the model to give it a stone texture. If you can't decide what paintbrush to use, find the one wearing a beret and bragging about having the best food despite being neighbors with Italy. Once the plaster is dry, cover with a layer of Mod Podge and black paint for durability and to act as a base coat. Then use a mix of Apple Barrel's black and pewter gray for a secondary base coat, brushing lightly enough so that the deep recesses stay black, stay strong, stay black and long. Add Apple Barrel's white to the mixture and dry brush the piece to pick out most of the raised edges, and finish with another light dry brush of just white to lighten up the edges, stairs, and railings. To build the pyre, grab a small fistful of tongue depressors and use a scissors to cut off the ends and split them down the middle. Then, using Apple Barrel's chocolate bar or burnt umber, mix about 2 to 3 parts water with 1 part paint and use that mixture to darken the wood, giving it a rougher and more natural look. Let that dry and grab an LED tea candle and slowly build a large pyre in the log cabin style around the candle, making sure to leave a little bit of room in case it needs to be changed out. Then cut off an inch-long section of drinking straw and find a dowel slightly larger than the straw and carve it so that it fits in easily, all while making sure that your camera is focused on the tea candle and not what's in front of it. Cut the dowel roughly 3 inches long and continue building the pyre in the teepee style to make things a little tense. While building the second layer of the pyre, keep the straw in the center and build the wood around it. Lastly, find a piece of that white fabric Grandma puts under her Christmas houses, or pick some of the fluff out of your wife's favorite quilt and glue it around the dowel, making it look like billowing smoke by gently brushing the middle of the fluff with gray and the top with black, and then moving on to the outro. When I do finally get around to returning Gondor's call, I'm going to ask them one simple question. Where'd all your doors go? And with the silence approaching uncomfortability hanging in the air, I expect to hear nothing less than, they took the doors to Mordor and they're taking the hobbits to Isengard. But no matter who has the most doors, we can all agree on one thing. If Tom Bombadil was that important, he would have been in the movie. Now, while I appreciate the sound of the nerds collectively hyperventilating while trying to regain enough composure to type out an encyclopedia-length screed on why I'm wrong, we should all take a moment to appreciate an older way of doing things. A time when Peter Jackson was willing to make 7 miles of chainmail and we didn't have to look at Evangeline Lilly's disturbingly bad hairline. A time when wargamers would dig through garbage because they needed building materials and knew their place. Now everybody is 3D printing and terrified that some guy named Al is going to take over. And despite the fact that one day he may take over, today is not this day. Have a good one.